and welcome to the Open Your Eyes podcast brought to you by the CNIB National Youth Council.
Under the direction of CNIB, this national team provides a voice for youth who are blind, deafblind, or partially sighted, and the opportunity to influence change and increase awareness of issues relevant to this population, ensuring that current initiatives, new programs, and policies are reflective of and responsive to the needs of youth with vision loss. The purpose of the National Youth Council is to work collaboratively, act as ambassadors, and advocate for solutions to relevant issues, increase awareness on issues specific to children and youth who are blind, deafblind, or partially sighted. The Youth Council also provides advice on improving CNIB services delivered to children and youth experiencing vision loss, to give youth a voice and provide a youth perspective that will bridge the gap to adult programs and services. And finally, the Youth Council increases youth involvement in a positive and supporting environment that allows for networking and freedom to share experiences.
We will be your hosts. I am Ola Bourne.
And I'm Owen Christensen.
Today on our podcast, we have Chanel Graff with us, who is also a member of the National Youth Council. Hi, Chanel. How are you?
I'm good, Ola.
So we have asked Chanel today to come and talk to us about guide dogs.
Which is pretty decent because Miss Nyla here was just licking my computer keyboard, which, come to think of it's kind of weird, but I might have been eating beforehand, so that could explain it.
That's just lovely. That's great.
Oh, thanks for your enthusiasm, Owen.
So, I was wondering, and we were all wondering, our first question is, why did you decide to get a guide dog in the first place?
Okay, I was thinking about this question because I do sometimes think. Surprising, shocking,
wow,
I know.
That is very shocking.
I know. But I've lived on a farm all my life, so I've been around animals. Guide dogs were never at the forefront with me because I never really knew about them until I was about 10. A woman came to my elementary school with a guide dog, and it was actually quite shocking because, oh, and I believe you know her, actually. I don't know if I can mention her name, but
I think so.
Marilyn Rushton came to my elementary school, and she showed me her guide dog, and she explained a lot about them. And I got to learn a ton, and I just thought it was so great. And once I learned, I actually, when I grew up a little bit more, I got to go to a seminar for youth at the guide dog school I went to, the Seeing Eye. And I got to learn a little bit more just to make sure I actually wanted my beast here. And that's... What was it?
Das Beast.
She's, yeah. Her actual name is Nyla, Owen. I don't know.
I call her the Beast because she's very rude to me because unlike Chanel's keyboard, she also licks me too.
She's a fan of men. She really is.
That's the way it should be.
Oh my God.
Just to get back onto topic, guys, our next question is, what have you learned about your guide dog and through like mobility, like walking around and stuff like that?
Okay, there's two parts to that question, and I'm going to answer both of them in a short time frame because that's what we got.
Okay.
For Nyla has her own quirks. She's obviously an independent being. She's not like a cane. I mean, she's better in my opinion. No offense to you blind people out there with canes, but
we don't got to feed our canes.
It's true that, but you don't get the companionship either, and you look kind of insane when you start talking to your cane. Trust me, I know. But Nyla quirks, like, you get to know her as I'd like to say person, but I guess you could say dog. And that helps with the mobility in a sense, too, because when she stops for some reason, you kind of, you get to know how to read her in a sense. And plus, she's a fast walker, just like I am, so I move faster with the dog than I have ever done with a cane. She gets me around obstacles that a cane would just kill me with because I'd probably get stabbed in the gut when I ran into it. I learned a lot because I learned to recognize what you don't usually recognize with a cane. Like with a cane, it kind of tells you what the obstacles are because it hits them, obviously. With Nyla, I have to know kind of where things ramp down in order to know kind of not so much where streets are, but where driveways are, because it's just a new method of traveling. And I really enjoy Nyla. I really do for mobility. Like I said, I get places way faster, unless she's chasing a squirrel, in which case, well, I get places way too fast.
I'm sure she enjoys your company too.
You sounded sincere.
Oh, Chanel, that's very cool. So now that you've got your guide dog, I was just wondering, what are the steps into actually getting a guide dog, and how hard is it to adopt your dog?
Okay, different schools have different processes, but the school that I went to was actually the CNIB, New Jersey. And what you technically do is you go online and you fill out an application form. Isn't that just simple? And then you go to the doctor and you wait 6 months because the doctors are so slow. That's not so simple. Because they need to prove that you're blind. Because, yeah. So you go there, you fill out all this application, and then before you get accepted, or not accepted, somebody comes out from the school to your hometown to evaluate you, which means they do a Juno walk. And a Juno walk is where you hang on to one end of the harness and they hang on to the end which is wrapped around the dog. So they can evaluate how fast you walk, how hard you pull on the harness, just so they can choose the right dog for you. That didn't happen to me because I live in the middle of nowhere. So what they did was they used my old records from the seminar of youth I went to a couple years back. And you'd think they wouldn't find a proper dog because of that, but no, they did. It was great. Nyla is the perfect match for me. Well, not in personality-wise. She's way sweeter, but yeah.
I agree.
So Chanel, you mentioned how Nyla can't really tell you about driveways or ramps. Is there anything else that she can't do for you?
Okay. Technically, what she does, in a sense, is contrary to popular belief, dogs can't read street signs. I know, it's shocking. They also can't tell you if there's a red light or a green light. She can actually find my driveway if I teach her and if she knows where she's going. But she is a dog. She's not a super hero or a super beast that can tell you all these things. You have to know where you're going. You have to know what you're doing, or else there's no point. You have to have good mobility skills and you have to have good caning skills.
So in other words, she's not a GPS.
She's definitely not a GPS. I mean, after a few times you do a route, she's going to try to go to that place because she thinks that's where you're going. But the thing is, you can't let your dog lead you like that. You are the one that has to know where to go. She is the guide. She's the one that keeps you from running into a pole, falling down a flight of stairs, crossing the street into oncoming traffic.
Oh, yeah, she also can't cook you breakfast.
Oh,
I will tell you a funny story. It is actually kind of cute because she's great. Actually, two funny stories. First one, I was in the library at the University of Alberta, and one of their floors was really, really big. And I couldn't find the door. So I just told Nyla to go outside. Well, she got me to the first door, which is great. Then we were in another alcove. So I told her to go outside again. So she found me another door. And we got outside the building, but I'm pretty sure we used the fire escape. So another case in point where dogs can't read signs. Like, she got me out of the building, but my friend still doesn't understand where she came out at because she says those stairs don't exist, but I promise you they were there.
Good thing that door wasn't alarmed.
That's pretty.
No, she did, and that was great because literally I was lost and not many people were there and it was just quiet and it was weird.
Good thing there wasn't an alarm on that door.
I know, if there was, I would have been like, Nyla, run.
Yeah, get me out of here before the authorities come.
I'm not getting caught by these cops.
You'll never take me alive, coppers!
I don't think I'd say that. I mean, I'd rather get arrested than
Would you say,
dead, but...
Oh no, it's the fuzz! Let's get out of here!
No, I'd say, I'm blind and my dog didn't know what she was doing. I'm sorry.
I'm terribly sorry for wasting your time, but that building's on fire over there and you're dealing with me. Really?
Not
Pretty
like I
much.
started the fire or anything.
Oh, I have one more story. It just happened yesterday. Um, I went into the fridge and clumsy as I am, I made a veggie platter fall onto the floor and vegetables went everywhere. So I figured, being non-wasteful me, I'd pick up all the vegetables, put them back in the platter, and just wash them before I ate them. Well, I thought I'd had everything picked up, so I went to do something else, and all of a sudden I hear Nyla whining in the kitchen. And I'm like, what is she whining at? Why doesn't she just come with me? Because she's like my little shadow. So I go back into the kitchen, and she keeps whining and just looking at me. So I look in front of her. Here's this pile of vegetables that I missed. She wasn't eating them. It was almost as if she was saying, clean them up. Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Most dogs are just, oh, no, no, no.
Yeah.
She doesn't like vegetables.
That's interesting. Most dogs will just eat anything that falls on the floor.
She ate
so
garlic
funny.
once. She didn't mind that.
How much commitment is a guide dog?
It's you have to be sure you want a guide dog because it takes a ton of money and a ton of time to train these beasts. And
Das Beast.
if you don't want the dog, then they're really like there's no point in wasting the trainer's time or the school's time and money into training it. Like I feed my dog twice a day. I take her out about 4 times, maybe more sometimes. Um, I adapt my schedule around her. Like honestly, I thought about it because yesterday was Mother's Day. And I'm like, well, technically, guide dog owners are moms to their dogs. Like, of course, we're not like moms to children, but no, it takes a lot of commitment. You have to work them because if you don't work these dogs, their training goes. It's just like a human. You don't do something that you've learned for long enough, it's gonna go. So the dogs, like the commitment is huge. So if you want a dog, or if you're thinking about getting a dog, make sure you know exactly what's in store. And it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. You're both going to have your bad days. But
You,
it's a good one.
when you said that, like, if say you stop training them or something, and the training like they forget something, what would you do? Like if they forgot part of their training.
If they forgot part of their training, contact the school. Honestly, if you can't figure it, like, because I work with my dog every day or almost every day to make sure what she can do, like that she can still identify if traffic is too close or that she can still let me know where a street corner is. Like I make sure that she knows these things because I don't. And I know when she goes out into the street because I trip over a ramp curve or whatever and I correct her, bring her back, and we do it again. So some of the training, if it's beginning to become lost, I can work on, but some of it, school has to get involved. So
And that can be very dangerous too, right?
Oh yeah. So technically what I'm saying is work your dogs, people.
So what position of someone's life should they be in like when getting a guide dog?
I think speaking of dogs, there are actually dogs just barking and having a scrap out my window, and my dog is looking out the window as if can I join?
Can I play, Mom?
Did you guys come to see me?
Pretty much. I think the best position, you have to be confident in yourself. Like, they're like furry children in a sense. You have to be the one that's able to look after them. Like, I got my dog, when I was in the class, I was actually the youngest person in my class of, I think, I don't even remember how many people were in my class. That's a sad state of affairs. But I felt like I was independent enough. I've lived on my own. I know I can take care of a dog. You have to be able to discipline your dog when she's doing something that she shouldn't be. Give her a correction. You have to be able to make sure that you can raise her and not spoil her. Or him, I guess. I should not leave male dogs out of this equation, but...
It's doggist.
Doggist, yes. Dog sexist.
Yeah, that's
but honestly, I think my main advice is to be, because when you get your first dog, you're not really going to be confident as much because when you go train, you don't know what you're doing. It's a new world for you, and people in your class who have had 4 or 5 dogs, and they'll give you this advice, and you won't even really like you'll consider it relevant and you'll follow it, but you won't even think it's accurate until you're about 6 months down the road with your dog. When you get to know your dog a bit better, when you guys are kind of in sync and working, there's a change. And they always told me 6 months there would be a change. You'd start to meld, you'd start to be in sync, and they were absolutely right. So honestly, the position you should be in is you should be confident enough to be able to live on your own, to be able to get around independently, to be able to have your dog be able to work.
So Chanel, I've got one last question for you before we wrap this up.
Right.
What is the proper etiquette when you meet a guide dog or come close to a guide dog? How should you behave around it?
All right. When a guide dog or whatever, if any service dog is in a harness, you do not acknowledge that dog. My analogy for the blind/visually impaired folks out there is that you wouldn't talk to your cane, would you? Unless you were extremely insane, which can't really say anything for. But you treat your dog or the dog like a cane. You would not acknowledge it. It's just there. For the sighted people, treat the dog like you treat an insect. It's a weird analogy, but insects fly by and you just don't even acknowledge them because they're just there. When the dog is in harness,
insects aren't cute.
Good point, but it's kind of the best analogy I can come up with right now. But when the dog's in harness, do not touch it. Do not feed it. Do not go on your knees and try to call it over. There's a reason the dog is in harness. It is to help me or help the owner get around. It's to work. If you're distracting my dog by feeding it or touching it or harming it in any way or just trying to, be friendly to it, it could get distracted. I could run into a pole. I could fall down a flight of stairs. I could hit a door. I could run into a poor, defenseless human. And it's not something that I want. And it shows it looks bad to people who are watching us work. So this dog is here for a reason. Usually you don't let dogs inside of public venues. This dog is here for a reason. Let the dog do its work. If you have a dog at home, go give your dog an extra pet. Think of mine. Because then you can just say you've pet my dog too. Because honestly, I'm nice. I'm very nice to children when they go to Generally, I'm very nice to children when they touch my dog because they don't realize. And I explain it to them. I say, you can't do that. It's working. And I'm very polite. I'm usually nice to adults the first time. If they continue to do it, I get a little, not meaner per se, but a little more firm because I'm not going to stand for that. The dog I don't want to ruin the dog's training. And the dog is a dog. And she's working. And she's doing her best. And she doesn't need the distractions. It's not fair to her and it's not fair to me.
So thank you, Chanel, for answering all our questions. I know I learned a lot.
And me too.
You're welcome. It was awesome to be here. I had an amazing time. You two are very enlightening hosts.
That's all we have time for today, folks. We have been your hosts, Ola and
Owen. This has been the Open Your Eyes podcast, brought to you by the CNIB National Youth Council.
And we'll talk to you next time on
Open Your Eyes.